Well, we have got some very interesting stuff to talk about today. So, of course, Nicholas Gibbs is a guy who I love to have on because he's at the other end of the, demographic scale from me. So he's probably thinking about things a lot different at his end in the 30s instead of the 70s. So, but we have a lot in common because we're both Tesla nerds and we both like tech. We both like all the new stuff that's coming along. So hopefully there's a great place for us to, join together regardless of our massive age difference. So, Nicholas, my big question right now, I would think a lot of people would be asking this question today. The short-term news on Tesla ain't good. I mean, there really isn't any news today or yesterday or anything about something that's going to happen next week or next month that's going to really change the Tesla story. In fact, all the news is kind of like, well, probably only going to ship 415 or 412 or 420, or I saw one today under 400. That's not going to happen. But anyway, so a lot of conversation there, a lot of conversation. AJ's number for his earnings is, down at 44 cents after a one-time restructuring charge. So none of that sounds very much like people would be bidding the stock up. And yet yesterday, the stock worked really hard to get to the level it did today. It fell off at the end, but today popped right back up and ended up at 180, 188. Yeah, I think 187, 188, somewhere around there. So is this the beginning of FOMO or the beginning of some kind of bidding the stock up over 88? Is that what you would think, or what do you think is going on?
Okay, well, thanks for having me on, Randy. Yeah, so I have lots of thoughts on this topic, so much that I have a options play on this.
I see. Okay.
I'll give you a high level. I made a video about this yesterday, but essentially, I have a straddle option play on right now. So, in other words, I am short. I'm shorting the downside and I'm shorting the upside
Okay.
for this week,
Right.
meaning I think the stock stays between 177 and 192.50.
Okay.
All right. So, and I'm just collecting premium between that. Why do I have such high conviction to put a straddle on? Well, because I don't think anything's going to happen this week to move the market. But I will be taking this off probably, if not tomorrow, maybe by Friday, because Tesla's ready to rip.
Ready
Tesla
to
wants
rip.
to rip,
Wants to rip.
but yes, it does. It wants to go higher. It wants to go higher quickly, and it's going to. This is not financial advice. It's my
Right. Right.
what
Right.
what I see happening right now. And this is just an opinion. You can see it with order flows. You can see with the option market where people are. There's so many option contracts, call contracts right now for October 250. There's just so much volume coming into this that the stock's going to pop. Um, Likely, the reason I put the straddle on is that everybody's waiting to see what the numbers are. I'm of the opinion, no one else is going to say this. No one else is going to have, pardon the language on your channel, Randy. No one else can have the balls to make such a call.
Okay. There you go.
Next week, after delivery numbers, by the end of the week, we will be higher than we are right now.
Okay. We're going to break
That's
through
my
200.
call.
Break through 200
My call for breaking through 200 will be after earnings,
after
going
earnings.
into
Okay.
88. Yeah.
Right.
It could happen as we get into earnings. That's very possible. But we are going to be moving higher, is what I think is going to happen. And yes, next week probably will be a disappointing number year on year,
Okay.
but it won't be a disappointing number quarter on quarter.
Okay.
And I think besides many analysts who have yet to update their numbers because they track many companies and they just don't stay on top of these things, nobody is really unaware of what this quarter is going to look like.
I think I said that this morning. So we're in 100% agreement on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So the only thing right now that I think we're stuck in this range is because we just want to make sure there's no surprise that we're not expecting. So long as we're within a certain, call it, a 2 to 3% deviation on the number up or down,
Mhm.
I think the stock's happy where it's at. And by the end of this week, or by the end of next week, we're higher, we're out of the 180s. We'll probably be, maybe we're at 189, maybe we're at 195. I think we'll be somewhere in that range, but that's good because that means we're moving in the right direction. And I think the narrative for Tesla, if it hasn't been apparent to most people, I think it will be after this next quarter. Tesla does not care. The stock itself, Wall Street doesn't really care about the numbers anymore. To talk about Tesla and delivery numbers is now archaic. They are either a
Those are
robo-taxi
my
company, or they're
initials. Those are my initials, by the way. So archaic, you see.
archaic.
So, okay.
So that's my thought. Is that I think we're moving away from that. I think 8.8 will show us what the future is. We still need to deliver vehicles, right? We still got to show good margins because that's the business. But I think you're seeing a paradigm shift where people stop caring about delivery numbers as much. They're not going to ding Tesla stock. They're not in the stock for EVs. They're not in the stock for margins on EVs. That's over. If you are one of those people, you're not in the stock at this point. So anyone who's coming in is coming in for 8.8, for robo taxis, for the future. So this is why I think things are about to start flipping. You add into that the election, you add into that Fed rate cuts, you add into that the fact that you see lots of companies falling by the wayside, cutting productions, needing investments from other companies to stay, to survive. It all just points to one thing, and that's a Tesla stock breakout.
Okay. All right. So, and this would be for, in your opinion right now, more about Robotaxi and 8.8, not yet necessarily about Optimus. Maybe there's some additional froth on the top for Optimus, but right now it's around what gets said on 8.8.
I think the market sees Optimus the way they saw FSD and Robotaxi 2 years ago.
Okay.
Just like it's fake, it's maybe, Elon says these things, whatever. Whereas now FSD and Robotaxi are more like, yeah, in the next, call it 6, 18, 24 months tops, there's going to be something.
Okay.
And nobody wants to be out if that's the window.
Right. So Dan Ives calls it the most undervalued play in AI. He also says he's got double the current levels as his price target for the next 12 months. I think that's way understated. But that would be what you want to do, right? You want to play low and get a surprise on the upside. Do you think the number is much higher than 350 12 months from now?
I don't know what I think that far out, because there's so many things that happen between now and then. I don't know what 8.8 holds. I don't know what these new vehicles look like. I don't know if they're going to start a network. I don't know if there's Optimus progress. I don't know if a new version of FSD comes out that's just, even more obvious than already is. So I think that's hard to predict. Is it feasible? I think undoubtedly. I mean, I think we should right now, in my opinion, be well over 400.
Already.
Nick's opinion is where we should be. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, Dan Ives says the most undervalued AI company. Nick Gibbs says they are the only real AI company. Not only that, they're the only real AI company, even if you consider other companies AI, right? And I've said this many times. I don't consider Nvidia an AI company. They
Right.
are in the AI space in the sense of they have the picks and shovels, but that doesn't make them a gold company, right? They
Right.
have the servers and chips. That doesn't make them an AI company.
Right.
But if you look at OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, whoever else, some of them are making revenue on their AI. None of them are making profit on it, right? So when you look at it from that lens, not only is Tesla the only real AI company, in my opinion, they're the only ones making profit on it as well, and they're the only ones at scale. So lots of things can happen, but I think we should easily be well over 400 a share. But again, that far out, it's just so hard to tell because there's so many milestones coming up. The comp package, right? That could change everything as well. So I, it's up and to the right long term is all I can say. Short term is easier to make predictions, Randy, because
Sure.
I can see things, and I know that between now and the end of the month, I know what's happening, right? There's three things. We got delivery numbers, which I think as long as they're not too bad, we're good. We got earnings. I think earnings, we'll know the numbers, so Wall Street will adjust ahead of time, so it won't be bad. I
Right.
think margins will be better. We'll have good positive comments, and the analysts are going to be asking questions about 8.8 more than likely, and FSD, which again goes back to that narrative that we're changing the paradigm to talking about robo taxis and FSD, which leads us, just more into that 200 plus range. So that's easier for me to price in the short term. Long term, geez, Randy, it could be 1,000.
Now, I also heard that you're getting back into leaps again, or adding to your leaps position.
Yeah, so I bought a leap, a June 18th, 19th, 16th, sometime around there, 2026, 250 strike price leap. I bought that one. Tesla was at 165, so I'm up pretty good on that one. I intend on, but this is where you're gonna think I'm speaking on both sides of my mouth.
Okay.
I intend on buying another leap as the delivery numbers come out, because I do think the stock will probably go down initially. I think that'll be just a lot of algorithmic bots coming in or out. I see there being opportunity. I think we break 200, by 8.8. And so I'll be probably doubling down on that same call option, buying another June 2026 leap for 250.
Mhm.
So yeah, again, everything I do with options are minuscule part of my portfolio.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's risk reward thing, kind of just
Yeah.
fun.
Us too. Us too. We have a reasonably good position in leaps for about the same period, but at a much higher number. I
Yeah.
like to buy out of the money, so as far out of the
Yeah.
money as I possibly can.
Well, I'd like to, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about that, but I will say, just for, not financial advice or anything, but um, just to share like lessons learned on my end. If you
Uh-huh.
do play with options, play in small quantities. Less is more, because if you screw up, it doesn't really hurt you, right? So with options, I believe in a volume of activity if you're going to do that, rather than one big bet.
Yeah.
Because again, a big bet can become a really bad bet, but small ones, little bite chunks, you're never going to get too hurt.
Yeah, so my lesson learned, or my first requirement for options, or for leaps especially, is having 100% certainty. So it's like I don't do a leap unless I have, all right, 98% certain. I mean, it's got to
I was
be,
going to say,
I have to be so
Randy, death, taxes, and
I have to be so convicted. And there's just no way right now. I mean, I've talked about this for years. The 2026, I started the whole 2026 thing about, I don't know, 14, 15 months ago, put out my first 2026 thing, which said, look, please tell me what isn't going to be done by 2026, And shockingly, I thought semis would be further along at this point. But everything else is going to be done by 2026. And I don't think there's hardly anybody out there at this point that doesn't think robotaxis and Optimus are going to be in business creating revenues in 2026. So when you add that to cars and the new, Gen 3 vehicle and energy and all the rest of the stuff, the stock, as you point out, has got to be above the 400 level, and maybe a lot over the 400 level by then. And it's, of course, there are things that could happen. A lot of things could happen, go really, really wrong. But again, the numbers are so small that I'm playing with, like you.
Mhm.
If I lost the entire bet, it wouldn't be a big deal. Anyway, not financial advice on any of that, just the way that Grandpa Kirk plays. Yeah.
Are you looking at June or December 2026?
I think it's June. I think my current deal is June 2026, and I think it's
Yeah.
maybe a 600 or something like that.
Oh, 600. Ooh.
Yeah, no, I don't plan to be
Yeah.
there June. I'll probably be out of it. Either trade it, for a longer leap, in between. The year that I made all that money, that I did 33 times my investment in 1 year, it was all traded. It was sometimes twice a day.
Mm.
If I made $500, I got out, and then I'd get back in the next day at a new point. And if I had another $500 profit, I'd get out again. I just did that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my rule with because I like to collect premium, so I like selling
Oh, yeah.
I like selling weeklies, but yeah, once I hit 50%, I'm out.
Yep.
At 50%, I'm out.
It's
'Cause in
good.
my mind, it's what am I already made 50%. Am I going to risk 50% for 49? That makes
Right.
no sense,
Yeah. Right.
right? Like at that point, I'm risking more for less. Like it's the math doesn't
Yes.
math.
Yes. All right. Well, okay. So what do you think is going to happen on 8/8? And in that same question, what needs to happen on 8/8 to move the stock? So what do you think is likely to happen and or likely to happen that would move the stock?
Yeah. So let me just start off by saying I hear a lot of people telling other people on X not to think certain things, or people should go into this with low expectation, all that. I love everybody in the Tesla community, but it doesn't mean I'm always going to agree with them. And to the people who are telling other people what their expectations should be, that they should be like, to be frank, like, screw off. Like, let people have, if someone wants to be hopeful and go into it overly excited, let them. Like, it's their prerogative to do that. Like, don't try to force your way of going into an event be the way it should be done, low expectations, whatever. Like, I'd rather go like Elon, shoot for the stars, and
And
let's see what happens.
yes,
Like, that's my opinion.
I'm a
But
super,
anyways,
I'm a super optimist, which means I've been disappointed millions of times.
yeah. Well,
Okay, it's all right. I'm
the thing is,
okay. Okay.
and we're aware of it is the point. That's my thing. Like,
Right.
nobody said anything to me, but I just saw someone commenting to someone else,
Yes.
and I was like,
Yes.
let them be. Like, they're having fun.
Right.
They're thinking big. Just let it be.
Yep.
And they're we're aware of it. It's not like we're delusional. Like, we're aware. Like, but it's part of the fun.
That's
It's
right.
part of the fun to get excited beforehand.
Yeah.
And so in that line of thinking, um, what I'm hopeful for is obviously we're going to see, well, maybe not obvious. I think we're going to see the unveiling of a cybercab. Um, I think that we will see the other next gen vehicles that he alluded to in the last call that might be made at the end of this year or early next year. I think that's where he'll go ahead and unveil them, or at least show them, unveil them, talk about them, open reservations. I don't know. Something will happen there. It'd be cool to see. Oh, I mean, you want to talk about what will pop the stock? Pop the stock. Didn't mean for that to sound, didn't rhyme, but yeah. Anyways, it would be that. It'd be, oh yeah, Tesla has these 3 new vehicles. Two of them have early reservations. We already have over 1 million reservations for them in Europe and China and North America. Like, yeah, that'll pop the stock. But so and then I also I expect a more of like, do you remember Autonomy Day back in
Yep.
2019?
Yep.
He had a beautiful presentation laying out
Yep.
the economics, how this would work, the network, how
Yep.
people would get paid, all of it. I'm hoping for something like that. To be honest, anything short of that, I think would be a disappointment for me. But that could also lead to a jump in the stock because now Wall Street knows how Tesla's thinking about this, right?
Mhm.
Up to this point, we don't know how you're going to handle cleaning. We don't know how you're going to handle charging. We don't know how you're going to do split and revenue share. We don't know if you're going to partner with Uber or not. Like, there's so many things. It's like we don't even know where to start from a Wall Street perspective. And you know them. They need to be, their hands need to be held throughout everything. They're no CERN basher. But so I'm hoping we see that, and then I expect there to be a projection of when we will start the network, whether it's a pilot test of some sort. I think I've talked about here. Like, I think it's going to have to start with humans behind the wheel
Mhm.
for a certain amount of time.
Mhm.
It just makes sense to me that that's how it would start. I don't know how it wouldn't start that way. And they learn the things that they don't know yet, right? There's lots of things that they don't know that they have to learn because they're not in that type of domain. There's just all those little nuances to dropping someone off, picking someone up, where are you going to go? What happens if the map's wrong? What if you can't find someone? How do you recognize them? Right? All these things that a road taxi is going to have to be able to do. Yeah, but I think he'll give us somewhat of a time frame for when that pilot launch would happen, what city or cities it
Mhm.
would be.
Mhm.
And yeah, to me, if all that happens, a fantastic 8.8.
Yeah. So I put a list together this morning. I threw out a few other ideas that may happen between now and then that could move the stock that would be related to 8.8. For instance, if the China testing is reported on in those two locations where they're going to do testing in China, if we get reports on that and they begin to expand it, if China approves FSD sales, if Europe approves FSD sales, those are three things that could happen between now and 8.8 that I think could create a lot of excitement before we even get there.
Got another one for you.
Okay.
And pardon, I don't remember if this is on the list or not. But if there's an announcement with Ford or someone for licensing.
Yes, of course. Yes, yes. Yeah.
R-
So I know almost everybody thinks there's one company that is the most likely. You're agreeing?
I actually don't. I mean, okay, yeah, it seems with everything Farley's been saying, it does seem like it's going to be Ford, but I kind of think it might be a Chinese company. Not saying that it won't be Ford as well,
Right.
or maybe I just want it to be a Chinese company more so. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, I know what I would be doing if I was in the position of these car companies, because I've done this my whole life. If I was one of the Chinese companies, I would be all over this. I would be telling Elon, I need at least a year. I have to have a year's exclusive because I'd want to have that differentiator. I mean, if I had a year to start building them and get ahead and be able to make my announcement as soon as I was ready to go and be far ahead of these other guys, but just a year, that'd be enough. I'd be good.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, what do you think that'll happen there? Do you think they'll make
First,
an announcement?
first of all, I've said for a very, very long time, I think it'll be BYD. BYD has the largest fleet. They have the largest immediate benefit. They kind of gave up a little while ago. It seemed anyway that they gave up on their own ability to do it. They have a great relationship with Elon. To me, they're the most obvious one. I thought also that it could easily be Kia yeah, the other one, Kia's buddies. The other company, the other South Korean.
Um, uh, uh, Blanking.
You're
Yeah.
blank.
Anyway,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. I'm allowed. You're not allowed to blank.
it's
Okay.
contagious.
Anyway, Kia and the other South Korean company. Anyway, I thought they were also very likely because they have not only the South Korean market, but they're a major US player, and it would
Yeah.
give them the opportunity also in the United States to get that kind of first mover, or a second, I guess, after Tesla, but get that little niche building because they're a major presence. I think they end up being number 3 or number 4 in the world in terms of total sales downstream.
Total sales. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Total sales and or total taxis, whatever, if they get into the taxi business. But if they don't get in the taxi business.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Anyways,
All right. Yeah. So, but Ford, Ford is the big speculation. And it could be them. Mercedes thinks they can do it themselves, apparently. So I don't guess it'll be them. Rivian, I suppose, would even be a possibility. Anyway, so those are some of the things that are happening for 8.8. We've not seen 12.4.2, so I'm going to ask you as a as a guy who knows a lot about this kind of stuff, what do you think is holding up 12.4.2?
I think I think 12 4.2 is probably just going through training. I think that's probably what they're doing, or they're trying to collect certain data sets to train it. That's possible, or it's probably both actually. They probably are training, also trying to get certain edge cases or examples to help with the training set, and then you have to go through your whole QA process all over again, right? They have a QA process that has proven reliable
Mm-hmm.
to the point where they did, they opened up free trial for everybody. We had no crazy incidences or anything. So they're not going to skip steps on their QA process. And that takes time.
Yeah.
It just does. We saw, I think today and yesterday, Chuck Cook had a few Teslas back doing his turn. So that tells us that, maybe we'll start to see a rollout of 12.4.2. We'll see. I don't think it's cause for concern. I think people get too, I don't know. It's like when there's time between updates, people get a little too antsy about it. Like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, did a big problem happen? It's like, well, no. There are when you
Processes.
change a lot of things, yeah, when you change a lot of things, there's a lot of finessing to do afterwards. It's like anything. I think I was on with someone the other day, but maybe it was you? I forget. I was talking about like a punch list, right? Like when you build a
Yes.
new house, it's brand new,
Mhm.
but that doesn't mean everything's perfect. And now you have to go in and be like, ah, you missed paint here. Oh, this is chipped here. Oh, you need a little caulking over here. Oh, this door doesn't close quite right. Oh, there's some leveling out. The drywall's cracked here. Right? You punch list this, and that's what they're doing. It's brand new. They got to punch list it, QA it, and it'll come out to us.
All right. So one more thought before we get into the general economic news. One more thought on the whole AI, the whole AI thing that's going on right now. I thought somebody gave a great analogy or a great discussion earlier today that I was listening to in terms of Tesla's difference in this area. I think it was on Herbert's channel. And they were talking about the difference being the amount of the the kind of work that the full self-driving has to do compared to any other AI system, any large language model, anything else. The amount of data in, the amount of data out, the amount of things that have to happen, and they have to happen at 99.9, where we know that the LLMs are making a lot of mistakes, hallucinating, doing all kinds of things. If Tesla's full self-driving was hallucinating and making that level of mistakes, it wouldn't be even close to being ready. So I thought that was all very interesting. You brought up earlier, they're not only the leader, but they're the only. Where do you see, so this is kind of a transition into the general economy. Are you starting to see some things that you think will be the first movers in terms of real AI apps, tools, things that are really going to have an impact on the economy, really make productivity, important productivity changes, things that you can actually talk about?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there certainly are. Let me. I'm just trying to think of how to say this in a
Okay.
coherent way. For example, I think most people right now in any company use some type of chat GPT or Claude 3.5, or they use some type of LLM assistant, if you
Yes.
will.
Mhm.
And most people will use it to get a basis of an email, of a document they might be trying to write. They may import an example of a document that they have written before and say, hey, take this, add in, update these details, and just spit it out for me. Right? That creates a lot of productivity. It really does. And
Mhm.
it allows people to, it kind of takes the monotony out of certain tasks, especially if it's something you've done many times. can you just update this for this and just make it sound better, improve it? Things like Grammarly. I don't know if you ever use
Oh, yeah,
Grammarly.
absolutely.
Excellent for making sure punctuation, all that. So I think a lot of those things really affect the individual.
Mhm.
And if the individual is having a better work experience and they can be more productive, I do think that translates into the company in ways that also can't be seen, right? There's like a butterfly effect, right? If I'm not annoyed that I have to write this whole document, like, especially where I work, we're a very big writing culture. So we write things. We don't really like PowerPoints. Um, so we write a lot. But if you can find a way to take the monotony out of certain tasks, emails, that spell checking things, certain tasks, right? Internally in companies, maybe you're opening up Jira tickets, or you have to, get certain requests done. Like there's always like extra little things you have to do to get a request or permission, or get certain people to help you out with certain things. And if I can just within, Slack is the communication we use internally. Most Silicon Valley companies use Slack.
Mhm.
Um, having a lot of these LLMs built into Slack, so that I could say, hey, can you open me a special request, spec rec, for I don't know, a compute specialist for this issue I have.
Mhm.
Get them. It opens up the ticket for me, does all the process in the back end. Now I don't have to go and click through 15 different things. I don't have to be like, oh my God, what was the site again? We go to do this. Like, I bookmarked it somewhere here, my million book. Like, all those little things amount to a big impact, especially when it's not just me, it's everybody across the company.
Yeah.
That's the stuff you start to see. So
Mhm.
I think in that respect, yes, we'll start to see things. Now, the question is, where I think you might really be driving to, is what outwardly facing kind of application use case will we start seeing LLMs? Well, that's a great question. Um, I could see it in many cases, more pertinent around things like restaurants,
Mhm.
hospitals. Um, if I'm a hospital and I have all these files from someone, right? Just millions and millions of files from all these different clients, and I can sit there and look up your, or I don't have to look up your personal information. It just has all of it indexed, and I could just ask, hey, what were the symptoms last time he came in for a checkup or whatever, or was there anything abnormal? And it just gives me a quick update, so I don't have to look through the file. I don't have to look at everything else. If I could type in, he's got these symptoms, does this correlate with anything that he's come in the past about, or any
Mhm.
markers based on his blood work? It can go ahead and quickly do all that analysis for you. That's real world implications. If I could go through a drive through, say what my order is, it shows up on the screen, I confirm it's correct. Okay, well, you just took a whole person out of the equation there,
Right.
for doing things. So, like, there are ways that it will start to manifest, but even that last example at the restaurant or at a fast food place, I think it's McDonald's or Burger King. Someone's just took that back out because they were trying to experiment with it and they stopped using it because it wasn't working as well.
Uh-huh.
Because it's not just the LLM part of it; it's also speech recognition, taking that, taking voice, putting it to text, understanding that text into a chatbot, making that text out on what the menu is. Then it has to go back and ask you, and right. So it's more than just that. But my point is, this is where I think we'll start to see it in the real world.
Mhm.
Um, sorry, I'm long winded here, but that's what I see.
Okay. All right. Financial side, we have M2 is moving strongly up. Housing prices were announced today. They were strongly up. Equity markets continue up and to the right like crazy. Government spending up, deficits up. That's a lot of up. The only thing that we're concerned about is whether the consumer can hang in there. And they're employed, but they're sad because consumer confidence continues to be down. So right now, you've heard me say it. I probably said it last week, but I'll say it again now. My thinking is we got to have a 5 to 20% pullback in the equity markets. but then by the end of the year, we're back ahead of where we are now. And then 2025 becomes 1995. So we're off to the races because of productivity, because of AI, because of all the stuff, and probably because of a change in governments, which typically gives you at least a 1-year positive thing going on in the markets. Where am I getting this right or wrong?
Okay, so I don't know is the answer. However, I can steel man
Okay.
two ways. One, the whole market could just chill out for a little bit. We don't need to have a 5, 10, 20% correction. The market could literally just stay stagnant, could just plateau for a bit. And that could have the same effect as what you're talking about for a pullback. Now, odds are if that happens, it's going to be plateaued for longer than what we would probably want from a pullback and then, rip back up. The other part that I think what's more likely than a pullback, and to be fair, you're talking about the indices, right? You're
Right.
not talking about individual stocks, but
Right.
and this will kind of play into what you're saying. But what I could see is the Mag 6 pulling back, the rest of the market going wide in breadth, recovering, kind of keeping us from going down too low, and then the market rebounding. I could see that happening, but I don't think that's likely.
Okay.
I think the winners will continue to run. I don't see them slowing down. The thing is, all the money being made right now in the market is consolidating down to a handful of companies.
And by the way,
And
there was a stat though that I saw this morning that I don't think any of us are paying any attention to. 160 of the S&P 500 are up 25% on their earnings. 160
interesting.
out of the 500 are up 25% on their earnings. 𝐶𝐶 hasn't been reporting that one.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Right. Now that
But
doesn't say much for the other 340.
yeah, and that's kind of where I go back to where I think things could broaden out.
Yeah.
But every time I've heard anybody talk about things broadening out, you know what hasn't happened? The broadening out.
Rodney,
It's
I
just
know. I started talking about
the
it a year ago.
yeah. And so I mean, it's one of those things. Look, Randy, people are in Nvidia, people are in Microsoft and Amazon and Meta. Hell, we're in Tesla. They have all these gains. They're seeing it go up and up. They're making earnings. The companies are lean. They all took big cuts in employees. They've done the hard work. They're making good money. The margins are good. Business is good. Why would anyone sell those stocks?
Except to take your profits. I mean, that's usually, yeah.
But where are you going to put the money?
Well, sometimes you put it in cash for a while, or sometimes you put it, maybe you do put it into a Costco or something like that. That's, not one of the Mag 7, but that's doing extremely well. A Disney that was beaten down. I'm not happy with Disney at all, but I'm just saying that might be the same kind of thing where it's very badly beaten down, but that their basics are pretty, their fundamentals are pretty good. There's a bunch of stocks like that where you could take it out for, I mean, if I
For
was,
what?
huh?
For what? To do what? If you're trying to look, if you ask me, hey Nick, who do you think will make more? Where do you think you have a better chance of making money? Money in Nvidia or money in Costco? That's a
Right.
no-brainer to me. That's not even a question. So why would I ever sell out of Nvidia, have to pay those capital gain taxes,
Right.
just to move over into another company that's going to have slower growth? I'm going to see Nvidia continue to run.
Yeah.
No way. I'd rather see that 10, 20% pullback you're talking about, stay in the company and
Right.
watch that rip higher. I would much rather that.
Which just happened with
Which
Nvidia.
just happened.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, I can't tell you how tempted I was to try to find a few quarters for Nvidia this morning. before it ran. I mean, it's down what, 13, 15, 14, 15%. I thought this won't hold.
Yeah, I actually I didn't talk about this, but
Okay.
another straddle I had on,
Yeah.
uh, just collecting premium, was on Nvidia that I bought yesterday, and I closed out of it this I guess this afternoon. So just quick $500.
Nice. There you go.
So
See, that's the
in and
idea.
out.
Yeah, in and out. All right. Well, so what if the consumer does run out of cash? Is that in your analysis right now? Are you thinking, because that could exacerbate the commercial real estate thing? If they run out of cash, then might get people laying off. If you got layoffs, then that means less people in those office buildings and some of the other commercial real estate, which has already got a problem that could hit the regional banks. You could have a domino effect of something that would maybe be worse than just a little pullback.
Yeah, I think that has happened, Randy. I don't know. I'm just looking at the numbers. You're seeing, um, you can see the savings numbers. You can see credit card delinquencies. You can see car repossessions. I mean, just look at the numbers out there. It's funny. I was listening to um, Meet Kevin's interview with Ross Gerber and Kathy Woods, and Ross Gerber keeps sitting there saying, "Well, I'm just looking around and everybody's spending. The economy looks good to me." And to me, it was just like kind of mind blowing. It's like this is the most ignorant statement I've ever heard. You're telling me when you see people spending like that is the definition of somebody who doesn't know the difference between having wealth and not.
Well, he's
You know,
Eiffel Towerized. He's on the west side of Los Angeles. That's
yeah, exactly. But he's sitting there saying like, look at Vegas. Like everybody's out here. Vegas is
yeah,
is an
right.
example of the world. Like no, people literally go to Vegas intentionally to spend money. That doesn't mean that's representative of everywhere. Because guess who you don't see there? The people who can't go there because they got no more money.
Right.
So like you're literally in your own bubble here. But uh, no, I think people are out of money. You're seeing it. I mean, California just had this like big revision on all of their employee numbers for the entire year. That turns out they they actually didn't add any employees this year. They're actually negative 30,000. I don't know if you saw this.
Didn't see that number.
Um,
No.
the All In podcast guys had a live uh wow, a live stream today,
Right.
and they're talking about. But yeah, California is completely apparently they just messed up.
Wow.
Somehow there's just a big mistake. All of the job growth they had, actually there
Was
was
that
none. It was negative. So like I don't know. I mean, just look at it.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. To me, people are hurting, and at this point, it's just we are one away from I think dominoes falling,
Okay.
and I think people know this. I think people feel this. I think people are scared, and I mean, again, just I don't know. What do you see in your everyday life? Do you hear people like I? The other problem is that we've sat here too long in this. It's been what 2.5 years now, 3 years. Really most of Biden's presidency, we sat in this era of like just crappy inflation and the economy's just going down and watching the Fed's every move and all that, it's become our new normal.
Right.
And
Right.
that's not normal. We forgot what it's like to have animal spirits.
Yeah.
Now, it's in the stock market for the Mag 7, Mag 6,
Right.
but we have forgotten what it feels like to have an economy that's actually doing well.
Right.
So, but what do you see? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm very nervous that the consumer has, as you point out, has or will be running out of money. Bank of America called it last year. They said by the end of summer, they did a very, very deep analysis, and they said they thought that it'd be the end of summer. But we're seeing evidence of it even before the end of summer. So if the consumer runs out of money right now, or then we've already seen Target and other people, Costco, et cetera, talk about going into going down market going to less expensive products, even in groceries and whatnot, going into non-branded items and whatnot. So we're seeing the consumer pulling back. I saw something the other day that 78% of Americans now believe that going to a fast food restaurant is a luxury. So if going to a fast food restaurant is a luxury, that tells me something. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I actually saw one headline today projecting that auto sales will be down in the third and fourth quarter. Well, if auto sales go down in the third and fourth quarter, you're already in a recession in housing. We know that Home Depot and all the housing relateds have been in a recession. By the way, I did see one, I'll be talking about it tomorrow morning. What do you call it? Truck tonnage was actually up for the first time. So it's only one data point. So the month of May, because they're way behind in reporting, the month of May, truck tonnage was up a little bit. But they even pointed out that one data point doesn't tell us anything, because trucking has been horrible for about 2 years. We also know that retail sales are not really up. That was retail sales dollars. You take out the inflation, unit sales down for the entire economy. So unit sales of products are down month over month, year over year. So it's all being held up. In my opinion, it's all being held up by what the future is going to be, which is experience, entertainment, travel. That's what we're going to be doing in the future, is experience, entertainment, and travel. So we might as well get used to that being the only part of the economy that's doing well.
But you know what? The good thing is, let me give you a little the way Nick sees life.
Okay. Yes.
That is where our money should be going. Like I have this now. Me and my wife are maybe different. A lot of people. We're pretty minimalist in general. We don't like a lot of things. Around the holidays, we always tell people, don't give us any gifts that aren't consumable or experiential. So give us a gift card to the supermarket. Give us concert tickets. Give us a gift card to a restaurant we like. Right? We don't want things. We don't want just clutter and get things. And so what that does is it allows you to focus more on, to your point, experiential moments and doing things in life outside rather than just spending on knickknacks and just useless crap. So I kind of love that, like traveling, entertainment, restaurants. I love the entertainment part too, and traveling, because somebody once said to me, when I was growing up, his name's David. He was kind of my academic mentor, for life kind of person that I grew up with. He was 15 years older than me, graduate from Notre Dame, just like the smartest man I've ever met. And he said to me,
next to me,
of course, Randy, that's
I
given. But he said to me, how many days in your life can you remember? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, name some. And I tried, and it was like maybe a handful of days I could remember in my life looking back. And this was him actually trying to convince me to not skip out on prom. And he was saying, like, your prom night is going to be a day that you're going to remember. And he was saying, don't pass up opportunities or days to have a imprint on your memory that you're going to remember in the future, because there's only so many days you're ever going to remember in your life looking back. And so maximize those. And so anyway, so that's why I again, I know it's not exactly where the conversation was going, but I like spending money on traveling and experiential things that, like, they mean something to you and you'll remember them.
I'm gonna put ice cream and a cherry on the top of that. And that is, I think, at the end of my life, or near the end of my life, as I look back, and I've said this to others, the thing you're going to remember the most is going to be the family vacations. Those are going to be the real standouts in terms of memories. It's kind of like your prom example, but I've done 5 weeks of vacation my entire life. We've done so many vacations, but that's what you remember. Those, because it's outside of your normal, kind of the day-to-day. Even if you love your job, even if you love what you do, that becomes kind of what you do day after day after day. That's not going to be the standout. The standout is going to be when you're standing looking over the top of the Kilauea Valley or over at Niagara Falls, or, these are going to be the things that you'll absolutely remember, at the end. Okay, we need to look at where the market is and find out why people are spending all their money on transportation and travel. Let's see here. We're hoping.
I love that, by the way. I love what you just said. That's I'll definitely take that to heart.
Okay, here we go. We have got the Tesla was up 477 today, and in the after hours, it has lost all of 15 cents of that back. So we're still in pretty good shape at 187.20. Of course, the Dow was down 299, the NASDAQ up 220, basically a reversal of yesterday. Everything that happened yesterday just got reversed out, except the S&P, I think, was up yesterday and up today. And the Magnificent Seven did very well, with Nvidia getting back pretty much almost everything. Well, they got everything from yesterday back, so about 6% for the day. Any thoughts about the market action today before I go into the bonds?
No, actually, I was just fixated on Tesla and Nvidia because I told you I have those
Right.
weekly options. So I was just making sure I didn't lose on anything. So I don't actually know how the market did today. I just know those two.
Okay, so bonds are still under 425. That is going to be my new number. So, every day we'll be seeing whether the 10-year stays under 425. That's what we wanted to do. It is, however, up 0.6 of a basis point in the after hours. The 2-year is unchanged. So that has dropped below the 50 basis points now that it was. It's about 46 basis points difference. So that's closing that inversion a little bit for the first time in a while, actually. And the 2-month is still way over 110 basis points higher at 537. So let's see, the oil patch. We've got the oil basically 80.74 on Texas Intermediate, down 9 cents. It was down a little bit today, now down in the pre-market. Brent unchanged. So not a lot of activity after having run up all last week. It seems to be settling down a little bit this week. Natural gas down 0.94, 273, pretty well in the middle of where it's been recently. It had been, as you may remember, over $3. Any thoughts on any of that? You can break in anytime if you have something that's
just oil. That's been one that I can do anything about it, but it's been interesting, especially as as we all know, it trickles into inflation numbers.
yes.
So I think oil is one to keep an eye on. Although at this point, we're just kind of going between 70, 80, higher, closer to 80 really in general, but it's just interesting.
Yeah, but it is up for the year. And so therefore it's going to start impacting the year-over-year inflation numbers. So this time last year, oil was lower. And so this would be a year-over-year issue, at least with regard to, the headline number, the headline numbers, which we'll be seeing in the coming months. But over time, as you point out, since it goes through the whole economy, it'll start to impact the whole economy downstream. Yeah. Gold, it's 2,331. I mean, it's just been there. Okay. Up and down around that number. It's just been really, how to say, 2,331, 2,235. Even though it moves a lot, it's been right around that number. Silver unchanged. Copper up, I'm sorry, down 0.19. It's down low now below 450. I reported this morning. So for those of you who weren't there this morning, I'll just report it again. A big article I read on copper said that the speculators got out ahead of the actual users. So the people that actually need to buy copper options were not buying them because they didn't have a problem. But the speculators thought there was a problem, so they were buying them. And so that's what they're thinking is happening with copper. It was over 5, it was 510. It's dropped all the way to 437. That's a pretty good size drop. Dollar unchanged. Okay, Bitcoin all over the place the last couple of days had dropped under 60. Was it 59 and change earlier today? Now back over 61,724.
Yeah, Bitcoin's a weird one right now because let me see. April, May, June, July, August. Okay, so we got about 3 months before supposedly historically Bitcoin has this big. I mean, you know what I'm talking about?
2 to 3 months after
Um,
they have.
yeah, supposedly it has like a big run up. It's like 3 to 6 months after. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out because, again, I don't believe personally in looking backwards to look to the future.
On Bitcoin.
Um, well, just in anything, right? Like even with all the recession stuff that we talk about, uh, everything was different
Sure.
in the previous recessions, right? Like people work different, people live differently, they spent
Sure.
differently. Like just dynamics were just so different. So you can't extrapolate forward. And so I feel the same way about the halving and the repercussions of it. But I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, I'm watching on the sidelines. All the Bitcoin I own is held by Tesla.
Okay, there you go. Me too, by a lot. Okay, on the equities, you've got the Dow down 46 or 0.12. You've got the S&P down 2.75 or 0.05, and the NASDAQ all barely changing, down 650 or 0.03%. So the pre-market for tomorrow is looking so, I mean, it's a little bit down, but so unchanged that it really not giving us much of a reading to think about for tomorrow. So that's where we are going into Wednesday. I'm imagining that people will be looking more towards Thursday when we get the unemployment number, and then Friday when we get the PCE, since we're that close. I did ask ChatGPT and Grok earlier today to please give me an analysis of what the PCE is going to be based on what the CPI and the PPI were, and neither one of them were able to do it.
Oh,
They both
interesting.
told me that there's relevances, that there's relationships, that yes, you can do some analysis and you can come up with a pretty good guess. In both cases, though, it said, sorry, we're not
Yeah,
going
that's funny.
to.
Um, yeah, it's funny. I've been using Grok a lot lately. I
Okay.
don't know if you have.
I've used it a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because it's just on my phone already. Like, and I'm on X, and
Right.
so it's just like 2 clicks away, and it's just right there. So I actually have used it a lot, and um, I don't know. I'm maybe it's just because it's at my fingertips, but I'm actually liking it a lot, especially because I can also ask it like, "Hey, find me the tweet about this," or I don't know.
Oh,
I can just ask it specific questions, and
right.
it'll bring it up with sources and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm using it a little bit. I particularly like that it is snarky, and tries to be funny, just like dads, So it's definitely a dad relating a dad relating LLM.
Yeah.
Going to be funny part of the time. Okay, that's all I got for you. You got anything for me? Any
Um,
questions? Any final thoughts?
Are you gonna be watching the election or the debate?
The debate. Oh, of course I'm going to be watching the debate.
What are your? We can cut this out if you want, but what are your thoughts on how that's going to go with the rules and the
Yeah,
drug testing and
it's drug test.
just all of it?
Well, okay, so I think that Biden has a very low bar. He has to stay awake. He has to answer the questions that are being asked, at least as much as a politician normally does. And he can't do some of this mumbling that he's been caught doing. He can't freeze. My dad had Parkinson's. I've seen the freezing activity. I've seen this where you just freeze in the middle of a sentence, and then all of a sudden you unfreeze, 10, 15 seconds later. So I'm familiar with that. So that can't happen. So he has a low bar. He has a bar that says he's got to prove over that 90 minutes that he is not demented. Trump has a much higher bar. Obviously, he doesn't want to do something that they'll be able to use to claim that he's just as demented. So he needs to kind of maybe slow down a little bit. I don't know. Maybe because sometimes he gets ahead of his skis a little bit when he's talking. Yeah, I think my expectations are that it will be an obvious, really obviously, one person is extremely with it and together and can articulate well, and the other person can't. But maybe not. Maybe it'll turn out a lot different. You?
Okay, interesting. Um, I feel like it's almost deja vu to the debates 4 years ago, where everybody was saying the same thing about Biden, that he's not there, he's a shell of a man, all this stuff. And I won't lie, while it's a low bar to step over, I was a little shocked that Biden was as, coherent as he was during the debate.
Right.
Whether he was, induced with something or what, I don't know, but he spoke clearly. He didn't have any gaffes. There was nothing there that you would have thought you would have seen. This is 4 years later now.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. But I almost fear that that's going to happen again. That's like everyone's holding on hope that, oh, it's just going to be so obvious a difference. But if Biden comes and he's completing sentences and, saying his talking points that he's rehearsed, 2-minute sound bites, I mean, okay, well, then he did his job. Like his job is to get out of there without gas. That's
right.
it.
And it doesn't even have to be rehearsed, that it's that much rehearsed. I'll give another personal example. My mother's 98, just past 98. She's had dementia for 10 years, but her dementia is of the nature where as long as you're talking and having a conversation, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
As long as it's engaging back and forth. It's only when the engagement stops that all of a sudden she loses the conversation. So I could see where, he could easily have that level of the ability to engage. In fact, my dad, with his kind of Parkinson's and where he would all of a sudden just fade out for 15 seconds, even then, he's still, right up to the time that he died, he knew what the price of gas was at the gas station and, that kind of stuff. So there's levels of this dementia and all of them are different. So it's possible that he would get through it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, my current thought on this whole election, everything is, I think it's close right now. Based on polls, I think Trump clearly has the advantage, especially when you look at swing states.
Right.
But I think if Trump announces Vivek Ramaswamy as his VP, it's over. It's absolutely over because Vivek offers everything that anybody is a bit hesitant with Trump or the things they don't like about Trump. Vivek's the exact opposite. He's articulate. He's very smart, well-spoken, can be a statesman, extremely educated. Not saying that Trump isn't educated and all that. It's just they're two different people. I think.
Would he be the Javier of the team because he's going to come in and cut whole departments of government and
could maybe. I mean, listen. I'm assuming you saw the All In podcast with Trump.
Yeah.
The getting a green card after you graduate university.
Yeah.
That reeks of Vivek, not Trump. That's a Vivek idea for sure. 100%. That's a very good new idea.
Yeah.
Talk about a way to attract the best and the brightest, so you get a good
I haven't understood this ever. My wife's a professor, and it's like you bring these people in, you give them 4 years of education, 5 years of education, 7 years of education, and then you let them go back.
No way. Yeah.
You should be like making every effort to get them to stay after you've used your resources to train them. I mean,
yeah.
you know, I'm all for helping other countries get ahead, but I'm all for number one, the United States getting ahead. So
You got to put your own mask on first.
that's right.
Randy.
That's right. Exactly right. All right, we should close it down, or people are going to think that we're just running off at the mouth, which I've never been accused of doing. So thanks again for being on Tuesdays and helping us bring in the good news, which was really good news today. And then to all of you folks out there, it's been great talking to you.